Welcome to the Scalable Marketing Machine Podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Hajar, marketing consultant for female founders and creator of the Scalable Marketing Machine Accelerator. I've helped dozens of women grow and scale their businesses from 6 to 7 figures and beyond, helping founders like you to implement my proven growth system that focuses on brand communication, marketing strategy, building your lean team, and leadership. On this podcast, we talk all about what it takes to get to the next level in marketing and in life, focusing on practical, tactical advice that will help you grow your business and explode your revenue. Are you ready to learn? Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to this very special Valentine's Day edition of the Scalable Marketing Machine Podcast. Happy Valentine's Day, founders. I hope that you have been getting lots of love from your clients and customers and your teams, and you are having a fabulous Valentine's week. Today, we're talking about love languages. And more importantly, are we speaking our customers' love language? So there's 3 specific things I want to talk about today: brand personality, brand consistency, and our brand voice. Okay? So our brand, we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks. I've been walking you through the first most important stage of my 4-step framework for the Scalable Marketing Machine. So Scalable Marketing Machine, if you're new to the podcast, the title of this podcast is Scalable Marketing Machine. This is the framework that I've developed over my 15 plus years working as a marketing manager, marketing director, fractional chief marketing officer for growth startups and scale-ups all over the world, from China to Dubai to the UK to Mexico to here in the US. I have built teams and built profitable marketing programs for incredible founders that have made millions of dollars in 1 month, founders that have built billion-dollar businesses. I've learned from some of the best founders in North America, and I have found that this framework that I'm sharing with you each and every week on the podcast truly works in building profitable, scalable marketing programs for businesses. So the 4 steps of the Scalable Marketing Machine: first, we've got our brand communication strategy. Next, we've got our marketing growth strategy. Next, we've got our team. And last but not least, our leadership, the way we show up as leaders and CEOs and how we manage outcomes and not people. So this is what I talk about on the podcast. Today, we're focusing on love language. We're talking about our brand communication strategy. If you've been with me for the past couple of weeks, in these first couple episodes of the year, we've been going through all of the very important details of creating a brand communication strategy. This week, I want to talk about, last week we talked about mapping, really making a messaging matrix. So really mapping our core values, connecting our core values to the pain points of our ideal client, and then mapping those pain points to the actual real solutions that we have, making it abundantly clear how we solve problems for our customers, for our clients. Oftentimes, it's not the product or service that we have that is flawed, right? If we feel like we've hit a wall or we reached a plateau and we want to sort of throw the baby out with the bathwater and create something new, I beg you to sort of take pause and stop and see, am I properly communicating to and really crafting messaging that's connecting with my target client and moving them into action? That's all that we've been going through these weeks on the podcast. So we talked about sort of the meat and potatoes of mapping problems and solutions last week. Today, I want to talk about the softer side of the brand communication strategy, which is really about brand voice, right? And personality. Because it's not enough to just craft those, core messages. We want to deliver it in a way that stands out from the crowd, the way that kind of gets our ideal client's heart fluttering. Okay, so I want you to think back to any brands that you really love. And one of the best examples that I love to share here is the sunglass brand Gooder. Sunglass brand Gooder, it's Goodr. It's like a sporty, really quirky, fun brand. But if you go to their website, they do an excellent job at creating personality through their brand. All of the names of their sunglasses are really funny. Like one is like Swedish meatball, and all of the brands, the sunglass name, like style names, have like a unique and funny story attached to them. You just look at all of the copy. You look at the landing page of their website. They've got, to introducing who they are and who their ideal client is. They say it right there on the site. To just even like the copy that they use on the buttons, even their terms and condition pages, like in every possible detail, they have put thought, energy, and effort into. And when you create a brand, when you execute like the copy and the imagery in a way that's sort of unified around your brand, creating a distinct personality, that's sort of the extra piece of brand that really actually creates community and creates raving fans that make people just fall in love with your brand, right? And so I don't want you to think that you have to have a brand like Gooder, right? Gooder is just a very obvious example, because you go to their website or their social media and you're just going to just be blasted with how vibrant their brand is. Like, you cannot ignore it. But if you start taking notice of other brands, like if you look at a really good one, like Ray-Ban, right? A classic, been around forever, totally different vibe than Gooder, but also a sunglass brand. These two brands are really great in juxtaposition of each other, because if you kind of open up those two websites, you're going to see just the vibe, the copy, the imagery. It's very, very different, but they have very distinct personalities, right? Ray-Ban talks a lot about their history. So that's the kind of stories that they tell. And as I mentioned in the last episode of the podcast, storytelling, kind of being able to bring forth your brand values and showcase how you solve problems through storytelling is incredibly powerful for connecting with your customers and moving them into action and really being memorable, right? We really remember stories. So how do we begin to kind of understand our brand personality? So I first want to give you a resource. So if you are like you're picking up what I'm putting down and you're like, I want my brand to have more personality, a really, really great book to read is Ann Handley's book called Everybody Writes. Ann Handley is if you don't know her, follow her on social media and LinkedIn and all these things. She is just a marketing superstar, but especially when it comes to copywriting. And her book, Everybody Writes, it's a thick mama, chunky, thick steak of a book. But each chapter is like a little vignette. So you can kind of open up to a specific chapter, get some real good juice out of that chapter, like a little lesson that is going to help you improve your copy. And by the way, when I say improve copy, hopefully you have people that are helping you copyright, ideally copywriters, but even anyone in your team that's helping to create copy for websites or to create social media copy. Again, one of my core philosophies, one of my core values as a teacher, as a business owner, is you, the founder, you have to understand enough to give it away. And reading a book like Ann Handley's book, Everybody Writes, is a great way for you to get a foundational understanding of copywriting, because copy is incredibly important for your business. And I think sometimes it's sort of seen as an afterthought. I think as founders, we pay so much attention to like our ads because we're so focused on the money in and the money out and the ROI. And we really can pay very close attention to the copy on our ads, for example. But what I want you to do is zoom out, get that 10,000 foot view of your business and look at what is the ecosystem you've created? Okay, so one of the first things that you can do today is take a quick audit on how consistent your brand is across different platforms. And this is something that is easy to kind of slip through the cracks as your head's down and executing things in your business. But it is worthwhile once a quarter to just look at your landing pages, your lead magnets, your pop-ups, your social platform profile, the actual posts that you put through, and just do a quick click through, edit, and say, is there like a through line here? Is there a consistency, like a brand consistency here? Does everything look, feel, sound the same from platform to platform? And in today's age, where we're so inundated with messages and there's just so many brands and there's just so much noise, it's really easy to lose people. So a simple, quick thing you can do is just make sure, like, does this all sound like similar? Does this all feel like it's the same brand? And that's something that you can easily, quickly fix. But when we're talking about love language, right? We're talking about giving some oomph and personality and sass and sexiness and interest to your brand. That is going to be where I would say focusing on your brand personality is really beneficial. And again, this is a detail. This is a process that I don't think a lot of founders go through, but it is one way that you can really stand out and really showcase your unique selling points. It's one thing to just like write your unique selling points in a document somewhere. It's quite another thing to show, don't tell. And the way that we show and not tell is, yes, through the imagery and the colors and the design, but we also show a lot through our voice. And our voice comes through is as copy, again, on our website, copy on our emails, on our subject lines, the text that we have on our buttons, the text on our pop-ups, yes, through our ads, yes, through our social posts. So I would encourage you, and Anne Handley in her book, Everybody Writes, goes through this process specifically, but we're going to talk about some of the things that I've put into play that I find really valuable. And the first kind of step, I believe, that is most important in developing a brand personality is really understanding like what kind of personality your brand has, right? And you can identify, 3 to 5 adjectives that describes your brand. If your brand was a person sitting across from you, having a cup of coffee, what would their personality be? Are you a teacher? Are you supportive? Are you a goofball? Are you quirky? Are you a know-it-all? Are you, are you very serious? There's so many different ways that you could show up, but identifying 3 to 5 adjectives that really describes who your brand is going to help your team ultimately to create the copy, to create the graphics that kind of bring that to life. So it's actually a step beyond, and I don't want you to get confused, because oftentimes a brand design, like if you hired an agency to create a brand for you and they created like a brand document, oftentimes that document is more like guidelines, like visual guidelines. But what I'm talking about as a brand voice guideline is it's a very complimentary as part of that brand guidelines document, and something that should be shown to your team together to kind of give them a full picture of what your brand is, right? So describing some adjectives that really personifies your brand will be very useful. The next thing that I like to do is really pull out examples of copy that you believe showcase your brand best. Now, if you're kind of like starting out with this, or you're thinking like, my brand doesn't have a personality at all, you can do like a competitive analysis. So what I love to do in terms of brand voice is really to identify some competitors, or they don't have to be even in your same like vortex. They don't have to be in your same vertical at all. Just pick some brands that you admire. And this just takes like, spending a couple minutes to really pay attention to the brands that you feel connected to and you like, and analyze. This could take like 3 to 5 minutes, their website, and say, what do you like about this? How are they saying things? Or if you admire some social accounts, what are the kind of images that they're sharing? What are the kind of copy that you're sharing? Or even more so, what kind of stops you on the scroll? So I love to pay attention to things like, as I'm scrolling through social media, what takes my attention? What hooks, what copy, what imagery? And that's going to start to reveal to you what you find attractive in this space. Because if you're sort of saying like, I don't even know where to start, think about what attracts you, right? And that's going to help. And then in a brand voice document, I love to just put, again, those 3 to 5 adjectives. I love to just pull some examples. So some examples, if there's other brands that you really love, just put those in. And then you and a copywriter, or you can start to develop that copy for yourself in the same style that you find appealing. Or if you're a brand that's been around for a while, I think it's also very useful to pull examples of copy that you've done before that you feel really showcase your brand well. Like, if you're anything like me, there's, as you're pushing out a lot of content each and every day or each and every week, there's some things that you're going to be really proud of and that are really great. And there's some things you're going to be like, it's not my best work, but sometimes done is better than perfect, right? So you want to pull out some of those things that are your best work and just have a little collection of them, like of the social posts that either you really like or ones that have really performed really well. Pull it into a document and make it a reference point for your team. All of these things are going to help to build that personality of your brand. And so these are just 2 really simple things that you can do today that starts to shape the personality of your brand, and start paying attention to the brands that you love, the ones that make you feel really excited when you go to their website, or excited to order with them, or excited to purchase with them, or excited to listen to their podcast, or excited to consume their content, right? Personality matters. Now, the last thing that I'm going to say about this is when we're developing brand personality, oftentimes the brand personality is an extension of the founder's personality. There's just not that many ways around it. And I would implore you to not build a brand that's very far away from what you're comfortable with or with your own personality. I think, if you're a very shy and timid, sort of serious person, it doesn't make a ton of sense to build a brand that's really goofy and funny, full of memes and all these things, unless it's something that you really enjoy. Business will feel more easy in general if you go with the flow as opposed to against the flow. So creating content that feels authentic to you, or having your team create things that feel authentic to you, it's going to be much just a smoother process. So if you are thinking I'm not sure what my own personality is, which, mind you, is actually something that I think a lot of us have a hard time reflecting on, we can ask our family and friends, can you give 3 to 5 words that describe me? It's actually a very interesting exercise to go through when you kind of see how other people that are close to you, that love you, view you. You often will be able to see yourself through a different lens. And oftentimes, those become really great, authentic personality traits to infuse into your brand. So if you're someone that's very loyal, if you're someone that's very reliable, right? These are really cool things that you can infuse into your brand in creative ways, right? For example, if you're someone that's very reliable, you can create copy and stick in little messages like, you can count on us, or, guaranteed to be there at a certain time, or guaranteed to do, to execute on what we, things like that, right? Ways that you can infuse and communicate that personality trait through the copy that you write. And this is where a lot of the creativity comes from. And so again, I'm introducing this idea to you, not because I want you, again, to be doing all of this yourself. In fact, my biggest hope for you this year is to build a scalable marketing machine, meaning getting yourself out of the weeds and showing up as a true CEO and leader of your business. But again, understanding what good copy looks like and being able to give your team the tools that they need in order to do the best job that they can, right? Don't leave it to chance, because if you do not go through this process of writing down personality traits, pulling out some examples that you think successfully communicate your brand personality through copy, your brand, and I see this a lot, is going to be default. It's going to default to the personality of whomever is writing the copy. Oftentimes, even great copywriters, if they're not given the directive, they're just going to default to either copying like what everyone else is doing, or to be, personifying their own personality through the copy, right? And we don't necessarily want that. So it's another tool in your toolbox on how are we going to not only show up more authentically as a brand, but ultimately be able to communicate more intimately with our target client. So again, when we're creating this personality, right, and developing the copy around that, this love language that's going to be the connection between you, your brand, and your ideal customer, right? We want to create the environment, right, the world of our brand that really speaks intimately to our ideal customer and client. And a way that we can do that is paying attention to develop our brand personality. So I would invite you to, again, notice the brands that you like and love, and pay attention to the small details, because the best brands, the top brands that really create a strong mark in our minds and our hearts, they're doing this work. They're paying attention to these details, and they're building a unique personality around their brand and a unique world around their brand that attracts and converts and delights customers and clients. And that's what essentially turns them into raving fans. I'll leave you with another last really great example that's very different than the two that I that I just showcased, but it popped into my mind as one that has a really great personality. Is the company Our Place. Our Place has like pots and pans and like cookware, but they've developed this beautiful brand around the founder's story. And I believe she's Middle Eastern and wanted to be able to cook some of her traditional foods, but the whole brand is really built on the tenet of food and different cultures, and the food that sort of is a act of love and connection, all these things. They've done a really beautiful job with creating a brand around that. Or Explore Gooder, right? A goofy, quirky brand. Or Ray-Ban, one that is a classic, just rich in history, really connected to Americana. These are three distinct brands. And if you take a peek at them, you can begin to see how they're sort of executing on that mission, right? On that personality, and begin to get some ideas for how to develop a brand personality of your own. So if you're sitting there thinking, yes, brand is really important, I really want to get started on understanding, how I can make a better brand for my company and just a stronger brand for my company, I encourage you to go to uglyventures.com. That's ugly with an I, so ugliventures.com/resources. And one of the resources there is a free guide where you can, it's called How to Build a Brand That Gets People Talking. And it goes through some of the core foundational pieces of building a solid brand communication strategy, and helps walk you through some of these exercises we chatted about today. And if you're thinking, I want to build a scalable marketing machine this year, I need help, I don't know where to start, I encourage you to check out the Scalable Marketing Machine Accelerator. You can get all the information on that at uglyventures.com, ugly with an I, uglyventures.com/accelerator, and you can see how you can get me, my hands dirty in your business, get my personal support on helping you to make this year the most successful year of your business, because I know that you're ready for it, and I know that it's possible for you. This is really exciting times, and I love that you've been here with me, diligently thinking about your brand. Next week, we're going to continue talking about brand, but more specifically, talking about conversions. How do we actually move people into action and get those conversions, get that revenue into our business, and have the brand be a driver of that? So if you're interested in that, be sure to tune in next week. And I can't wait to see you back here, same time, same place, for the Scalable Marketing Machine Podcast. See you then. You did it. You made it to the end of the episode. Thanks for sticking around with me and listening all the way to the end. I really appreciate you as an audience member, and I hope that you found this helpful. If you did like this episode, it would mean so much to me if you subscribed, if you rate and review this podcast. It helps other people know that this podcast has something worth saying. It also would be super awesome if you could take a screenshot and share on Instagram and tag me at Ugly Ventures, UGLI Ventures, VENTURES. I am always so appreciative to hear from you, and I hope to see you back here next week